Now, I'm a big, big Battletech fan, and I really love that Catalyst Games has pretty much redone it and, came out with all these nice little sets, and they went with Alpha Strike, which I think is pretty good because now you can play it on a big table. But I'm still a traditionalist, and I do like the little intricacies of marking off on the dots to see if the arm blows off, or headshots, or this, that, and the other, and the luck of this, that, and so forth and so on. Rolling and luck, play a big part in everything in life. So I've always been a dice rolling fan. So those little micromanaging of the mechs, I really enjoy. So when I heard a game was coming out a long time ago and I never got my hands on it, Leviathans, and it kind of played to that kind of scale of game, I was interested and not too interested. But today we are going to take a look at Leviathans, a huge game, and a huge, huge game. So why don't we head down to the table and let's take a look at it. Okay, so here we are taking a look at Leviathan, and I only have part of the board out because this board is massive, and there's a reason for that, because take a look at the size of these ships. This is the main ship here, but we're not going to be taking a look at that for this demo. We are actually going to be looking at what they consider as the medium ship, and these are pretty big ships, to be honest with you. Then of course, they have some of the smaller ships. So you can get all these on the board and really, really go at it. Now, turn order, I'm not going to explain all the rules, but I'm going to try to cover everything as best as I can so that you guys understand this, especially since Justin and I are probably going to be doing a live play of this. So we're really looking forward to that. Now, we're going to take a look at these two ships. As you can see, they are broken up into two different factions. The British and, of course, the French, which don't like each other whatsoever. So, in this particular game at least. So, the game is broken into a series of things for each turn. And every turn, players take the following actions in the following order. Initiative. They fire any torpedoes if you're using torpedoes. Movement. Resolving any torpedoes. And then combat, and then end of turn. Now you do that you go back and forth between each ship. So everything happens simultaneously, so if you destroy the ship, they still get their return fire. But how does that work? Well, let's take a look at these cards and break that down so everybody understands what's going on here. Now, as you can see on this particular ship here, and I'm going to zoom in on this a bit, and we're just going to look at the front arc so we understand what's going on here. Now, this ship type is a destroyer, and it's 1. And you usually go by the highest order of ships. The Liberian class, which is a bigger ship, is a ship 2, which is actually this ship here, which we should be looking at. So we're going to take a look at this here, because these are light cruisers actually. So I apologize for that, but hey, we want to make sure that we see that these are light cruisers, and then of course these smaller ships here are the destroyers. So let's just take a look at this light cruiser so we understand everything that's going on here. Now here, these numbers here are the numbers that you have to beat. You're going to have to roll higher than. And the way you're going to do that is, as you can see right here, there are different colors. So you would get those to attack. So say we were attacking this particular destroyer, okay, right here, and our light cruiser here is going to be firing its front arc into there. So we're going to take a look. As you can see, I'm going to hold up both cards so we get the whole gist of this, and I can explain it in detail. So our destroyer has the highest armor is an 11, But how do we break through that armor? Well, I'm going to show you right now. Because the ship is going to be firing out of its front arc, okay, it has certain guns. And as you can see, from 6 hexes away, it gets a yellow die. Now these yellow dice, these dice here, and we're going to zoom out again, are all kinds of different types. Like this is officially and considered a 12-sided die. But they're all 12-sided die. But they're all different numbers. Like this, the highest number it goes up to is 8, a red die. The yellow, the highest number it goes up to is an 8. But there are a couple of 5s on it. So there's different markings on it. Where this one, a green die, only goes up to 4, but mostly has 1s on it. A blue, 6 is the highest, and you see there's a couple 6s and 5s and 4s, and just a couple of 2s and 1s. And then, of course, we have a 6-sided die, which we will explain very shortly. So let's get back to these cards so we understand what's going on here. So let's let this focus in here a little bit, and we'll just zoom in. So this particular, and because they are only, as you can see, just a couple of hexes away, so let's just say for sake we always measure from the front, and it's 1, 2, 3 hexes away, so it would get 1 yellow die. So we would take our yellow die. But also there's a crew in the front, which gives it 1 green die. Now the other ship we're going to say is moved, so we go to their card, and green means moved and red means did not move, which means that because it moved, we get a blue die. So you would roll excuse me, all these dies at once, and you would come up with a number. So let's roll them and see what happens. And of course I rolled perfectly, which I cannot do during the game. This is a 12-13. So let's take a look at the destroyer's defense. Okay, well, as you can tell, it can be anything. Now if it was under anything, if it was under 9, then we would know it's automatically a miss. So how do we determine this area? As you can see, this is numbered 1 through 6. So we would take our 6-sided die, roll it, and we rolled a 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we would mark off their armor and on a breach. So this would actually go away. You would cross this out. And that would be gone for the rest of the game. Now, the way that you get through and destroy the ship is, as you can see here, there is a structural integrity. And as you start marking these things off, you start losing things and getting minuses. And as you can see, you can hit, but you could still roll a couple of misses. Now what happens is, as these mark off, if you were to hit the front and roll, and say we rolled a 5 again, well, that's not there. You would have to re-roll the die, because you have to try to hit an area that hasn't been hit. But say you rolled a 5 right after that. That means it would be a hull breach. And then there would be certain modifiers, and you would roll a number of dice trying to beat this integrity. If you beat this integrity number, the ship blows up and is completely gone. And you can't, there's just so many modifiers that add up. So let's take a look at some of those and talk about some of those modifiers that you can actually have go against you for a breach. On a breach, you would actually get there would be okay, on a breach, breaking the keel is what it's called. You would get +1 for each destroyed slot. So in this case, if all these slots were gone, it would be 6, and if any on the side were gone, we would add those in. But right now you would just start with a 6. 1 additional per slot destroyed in the location. Well, guess what? That whole location's destroyed, so now you get 1 additional. So now it's 12. And then, of course, you would get plus 1 per miss slot. So how many miss slots are there? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 miss slots. So that would be 5, which would bring it up to 18. Then you would roll 2d6, and if it was higher than 20, which more than likely it would be, it is completely destroyed. Now also, some of these areas can be repaired. So for instance, you would have to roll 2 red dice, 2 reds, and any kind of bonuses that you would have at the end of your turn to try to repair any of the area. And you would roll, if you rolled higher than a 15, the destroyed slot is repaired. But that's not as easy as it sounds. So movement is very easy. As you can see, you start with movement. But as you take hits, like if you took hits in the rear in the engine, that would take away certain movement points, and that's bad. Movement's very easy. It's by hex. Depending on the size of the ship, turning's very easy. For this particular ship, you would turn by the front. So in order to turn, you would turn in such a manner, and that would cost you a couple of movement points, and then just move 1 each for each thing. The smaller ships are a lot easy. They turn from, well, actually they turn from the front, and I'm sorry, these actually turn from the middle of the ship. So if you were wanting to turn, you would turn here, but it cost 3. Sorry about that. I want to make sure that I'm giving you guys the right information. These turn a lot easier in the front. So as you can see, their turn radius is a lot easier. But for each ship, before it can turn, it has a number on the right hand side. For the bigger ship, you would have to move forward 2 hexes before you can turn once. And then this the smaller ship would only have to move 1 before it turns once. Now movement goes back and forth until completed. You can never land on top of a ship or in the same square as a ship. You can pass through it, but that also leaves you open to your rear, which can be quite damaging. And that's basically how you play Leviathan. Very Battletech-like, has a very good feel to it. So let's send it up top and get my final thoughts on Leviathan. Oh my God, this game is very, very good. But the thing that kind of disappointed me is, of course, it didn't take off the way it should. I think because there just wasn't enough different ships. It was the French and the English. I wish that we had the Americans and the Germans and the Russians, and there were all kinds of different other things to go with it. The game's easy to learn, a lot of fun, very strategic, and Justin and I really enjoyed this game. We're even considering doing a live playthrough of it. We liked it so much. But I was very disappointed in the lack of support. You know, having to mark off these sheets with a dry erase marker, which I'm never a fan of. And I wish that they came with pads where you can mark it off. You know, kind of like the way it is for Battletech. The game's solid, plays very well, and a lot of fun. You think that it's going to be very complicated, and the game really isn't. It's easy to learn, and we had it up and running in less than a half hour. So if I had to rate this game, I'd give it a 7 out of 10. Just because, number one, I don't think they're going to be doing much of it anymore. But I am going to keep on playing this, and it's going to stay in my collection. It's just one that I just refuse to let go. And if I could pick up some extra ships, I think I will. But I sure would have liked to see some variation of the ships. Who knows? Maybe it'll come back. Maybe it won't. Well, that's it for this review. Until next time, I'm Rob Warren, and we'll see you soon.